When a borrower pays their monthly EMI via UPI, they see a green checkmark instantly. It feels perfectly smooth and perfectly frictionless. But on the back end, that single payment immediately fractures. It registers in the core banking system, the loan management system, and the payment gateway. Each system logs it with a different reference number, a different timestamp, and a completely different data format. Tomorrow morning, an operations manager will open 3 different browser tabs and stare at a blank spreadsheet. Think we'll spend the next 6 hours doing manual VLOOKUPs, trying to visually match thousands of these jagged, disconnected records to figure out who actually paid what. The frictionless digital economy we interact with on our screens relies entirely on highly stressful manual human labor holding the pieces together behind the scenes. Take a typical 1 Crore bulk settlement from a payment aggregator. On a daily bank statement, it shows up as a single opaque line item. In reality, it contains 4,000 individual borrower EMIs bundled together. To reconcile the books, someone has to unpack that line item, but the bank calls the transaction one thing, the gateway calls it another, and the loan system uses a completely different naming convention. Standard spreadsheet formulas fail instantly. When those payments inevitably fail to match, the money gets dumped into a suspense account. It sits there, untracked and entirely idle, while someone tries to find time to investigate whether the mismatch was a round-off error, an unexpected bank fee, or a duplicate charge. As audit deadlines loom, overwhelmed analysts often have no choice but to manually override the spreadsheets to force the numbers to tie out. The paper trail of who made those adjustments and why exists across 6 different files, or worse, strictly in someone's memory. Up the chain, the CFO receives a static deck compiled 5 to 10 days after month end. They are forced to make immediate decisions on collections efforts and working capital using data that describes a business from weeks ago. Hiring more operations interns to manage a growing loan book in Excel guarantees that at a certain volume, the reconciliation process will mathematically collapse. Autonmis solves this by functioning as a gentle read-only layer. It connects directly to your existing systems to see the data as it lands. There is no massive IT overhaul or 6-week engineering ticket required. If a live API connection isn't ready, the operations team can simply drop in whatever raw CSV or MT940 file the bank provides. The very first thing the platform does is ingest those messy, gibberish bank narration strings and automatically standardizes them into clean, highly readable records. You don't have to tear down your existing banking infrastructure to achieve enterprise-grade organization. You simply pass the data through a smarter filter. Remember that 1 Crore bulk settlement? Autonmis automatically splits it back out into those 4,000 individual EMIs, carefully separating the principal, the interest, and the payment gateway's fee deduction into distinct lines. Next, it runs a 3-pass matching sequence. The first pass looks for exact matches, instantly pairing the vast majority of perfect records. What's left goes through a windowed match. This accommodates the realities of banking, like a transaction settling a day late or rounding off by a single rupee, and resolves them without throwing an error. Finally, a fuzzy match scans for human errors, intelligently resolving typo-written reference numbers or misspelled names. 3 days of manual Excel work is completed in about 3 minutes. The tiny fraction of genuine anomalies that remain are organized into a calm, prioritized queue for the human team to review. Within that queue, smaller fixes, say under 500 rupees, can be resolved by a junior analyst and post automatically. But large anomalies are locked in a maker-checker workflow, requiring digital sign-off from a senior manager before they can move. Every sign-off, big or small, is permanently stamped into the record. The audit trail builds itself perfectly as the work is done, removing the need to reconstruct it under pressure later. Instead of waiting for a month-end scramble, Autonmis quietly reruns the entire matching pipeline across the day's audium every single night. When the CFO arrives at 8 a.m., they open their inbox to a plain language summary, briefing them exactly on what came in, what matched, and what needs immediate attention. If they need more detail, they can type a conversational question. Show me all payment gateway settlement breaks over 50,000 rupees from last week. This chart shows exactly that data trend, generated on the spot without waiting for an analyst to write a SQL query. By removing the manual data lag, executives can base their co-lending payouts and collection strategies on the exact financial reality of today. Resolving a suspense account break in 2 hours instead of 14 days immediately releases trapped working capital, pushing cash back into the business where it belongs. Producing a verified TDS reconciliation pack or an RBI DLG certificate goes from a 3-week panic to a single-click export. A 2-person operations team can now process 10 times the transaction volume, removing the need to constantly hire entry-level clerks as the business expands. Growing a profitable loan book requires a financial backend that operates cleanly, accurately, and without breaking under the weight of its own success.